Everyone has their own recipe for chicken and dumplings, but I'm going to show you how I make mine. I always laughed. I used to say that I make chicken and dumpling because my dumplings all ran together and made one great big one. I have my crock pot ready here, and I've put a liner in it, and that's just to help it, because that way you don't have quite so much cleanup. Since there's only two of us, I have two of these big quarters, chicken quarters. That's a leg and a thigh. And believe you me, that's a lot of chicken. And I'm going to lay that where that they're both in the bottom of that pan. To that I'm going to add 1 cup of largely sliced onion. That's about 1 small onion or half of a large onion. Then I'm going to add 1 can of cream of chicken soup. This recipe takes about 4.5 to 5 hours on high in your crock pot. Kind of spread that out a little bit. And to that I'm going to add 48 ounces of chicken stock. Whoa. There's plenty of salt in your cream of chicken soup, so I'm not going to add salt. Now, a lot of times you can add vegetables to this if you want to. Good vegetables would be thinly sliced carrots, a few potatoes, but I am not going to add any vegetables to mine. Save the onion. All right. And you don't even have to stir that chicken soup up. You can just leave it. It will gradually go down in there. I'm going to put the lid on. Turn that up to high. And we're going to let that cook about 4.5 to 5 hours. Okay, it's time to check our chicken. And it looks like it has cooked well. So to that I'm going to add 1/4 cup of plain flour. Kind of mix that in. This is going to help thicken it up some. And I can tell you, flour kind of lumps up whenever whenever it's hot, going into hot liquid. So just take your time and kind of mash it until it's begin to incorporate, melt well into your broth. Now I left the bone in on the chicken, and I did that for 2 reasons. For one, it helps stabilize the dumpling and give it something to sit on when you put in there. And the other one is the bone actually adds a lot of flavor whenever you use that. I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoonful of sage. And just sprinkle it over the top. Work that around just a little bit. And I'll put the lid back on while I'm mixing together my dumpling. Now for the dumpling, I have here 1 cup of all-purpose flour. I will add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That's a half that I'm using, so I'm going to just fill it up twice. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. and 1/2 cup of buttermilk. And we all know that with buttermilk, it has that fat that's in it, and that helps to make your dumpling light and fluffy. Just kind of mix that slowly, incorporate it. A dumpling is something you do not want to overmix, or it becomes tough, and you want these to stay light. You just want that enough buttermilk there to kind of hold that together. Okay, and you can see that it's kind of coming together in a little dough. It's ready whenever it gets like that. You don't want to mix it until it's real smooth. You want it to be kind of like when you're going to make biscuits and you've got that extra little look in there. You can kind of take your hand, and when you can bring it up and it looks almost like you're going to do a pie dough or a biscuit, then you know it's ready. So we're going to take our lid back off. And we're just going to pinch this into about 1-inch rounds. Don't mash them down, just 1 inch, and kind of drop them in there. Going to let that liquid cook. Actually, it boils them. And we're kind of aiming at putting them on top of where the chicken is. Now, I used to make these much bigger, and when I did, they all managed to rise and just kind of set up against each other. So instead of little individual ones, I'd have one great big dumpling. We all laughed, call it chicken and a dumpling, but we'd cut that dumpling and they were always light and airy and tasted good. Then you're going to put your lid back on. Then all you have to do is just watch it, wait until your dough has risen and has cooked and looks like it's even all over. Okay, it has been about 4.5 hours. Our chicken is done. So are our little dumplings. And I'm going to go in and pick up a piece of chicken off of the bottom. Now, it is so tender that the leg just fell right off. So what we've got there is a nice big piece of breast. To that, I'm going to add a couple of dumplings. Going to get a little bit of that juice, put over it. And we're ready for dinner.